Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the untold stories behind reality TV's most dramatic couples. Today, we're uncovering one of the most shocking and heartbreaking chapters in the story of 90 Day Fiancé, stars Jovi and Yara. From the moment they appeared on TLC's hit show, fans were drawn to their whirlwind romance, a love story that crossed oceans, cultures, and expectations. But what happened behind the cameras was far darker than anyone imagined. This isn't just another reality TV scandal. This is a story of family betrayal, false accusations, and a cruel ultimatum that forced Jovi to choose between his own mother and the woman he loved. Yes, you heard that right. Yara and her husband Jovi had been dealing with family tension for a long time. The situation reached a breaking point when a serious dispute erupted between Yara and Jovi's mother. During one of Jovi's work trips, his mother made shocking claims, accusing Yara of bad behavior and even saying that Yara had physically assaulted her. When Jovi heard this, everything changed. Angry and convinced that Yara was the problem, Jovi's mother gave him a brutal ultimatum. She told him directly, "If you don't divorce your wife, then from today on, you are no longer my son. I will no longer recognize you as my child." Those words shattered Jovi. Hearing his own mother reject him broke his heart. He felt trapped between the woman who raised him and the woman he chose to build a life with. As the pressure grew and the family conflict became unbearable, Jovi realized that the only way to escape the chaos was to walk away from everything he had known. In the end, Jovi and Yara made a painful but decisive choice. They sold all of their property, including their home, for $2.2 million. After the sale, they decided to leave the United States for good and moved to Canada. At the same time, they announced that they would no longer be part of the 90 Day Fiancé franchise or the TLC network. Later, without any warning to fans, Jovi and Yara quietly disappeared from the show. In this deep dive, we walk through the emotional journey that led to their shocking exit. From the glamorous beginnings of their relationship to the devastating fallout with Jovi's mother, we explore the choices that changed their lives forever. So take a moment, because this isn't just reality TV anymore. This is real life, raw emotion, and a heartbreaking question. How far would you go for love? Before the accusations, before the ultimatums, and before the $2.2 million goodbye, there was love. Real, powerful, and undeniable love. Jovi was no stranger to adventure. His career in underwater robotics took him all over the world, from oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico to destinations most people only dream of visiting. But it was during a trip to Europe that fate introduced him to Yara, a young woman from Ukraine with sharp wit, strong opinions, and a heart longing for something more. Their connection was instant. What started as casual conversations quickly became late-night calls, shared dreams, and plans for a future together. For Yara, Jovi represented freedom, excitement, and a life beyond her home country. For Jovi, Yara was the spark he didn't know he was missing. Someone who challenged him, loved him deeply, and wasn't afraid to call him out. When they joined 90 Day Fiancé, their relationship became public for millions to see. Fans watched as Yara adjusted to life in New Orleans, facing cultural differences, language barriers, and the challenges of joining Jovi's family. Their love story was messy, passionate, and sometimes controversial, but it felt real. The cameras captured everything: Yara's homesickness, Jovi's struggle with his party lifestyle, and eventually the birth of their daughter, which strengthened their bond in ways no one could deny. For a while, it seemed like they had beaten the odds. But behind the scenes, trouble was growing. Jovi's mother had always been protective of her son. At first, she welcomed Yara, but over time, tensions began to rise. Cultural misunderstandings turned into sharp comments. Small disagreements became heated arguments. Slowly, concern turned into disapproval. Jovi tried to stay hopeful. He believed love could fix everything. He thought his mother and wife would eventually find common ground. But what he didn't realize was that the conflict was already deeply rooted. On the surface, Jovi and Yara's life looked perfect. They had a daughter, a home, and undeniable chemistry. But beneath it all, family tension was tearing them apart. Jovi's mother was a strong presence, outspoken, traditional, and deeply tied to her Louisiana values. Yara's direct European style often clashed with that. What Yara considered honesty, his mother saw as disrespect. Family dinners became uncomfortable. Advice about parenting felt like criticism. Yara felt judged and undermined, while Jovi felt pulled in two directions. Behind closed doors, Yara told Jovi how hurt and isolated she felt. She wanted acceptance, not control. Jovi listened, but his loyalty to his mother made everything harder. Then the whispers started. Jovi's mother began telling others that Yara wasn't good enough, that she was controlling, and that she didn't respect the family. Those whispers eventually became serious accusations. The most damaging claim was that Yara had physically assaulted her. Yara denied it completely. She said the accusation was a lie meant to destroy her marriage. But once such claims are made, they spread quickly and take on a life of their own. Jovi was trapped. He loved his mother, but he also knew the woman he married. The accusations turned family tension into open war. Trust was broken. Lines were drawn. Behind the scenes, the damage was devastating. Yara cried in private, begging Jovi to believe her. Jovi wanted to trust her, but doubt crept in. Family gatherings turned into battles. Phone calls ended in shouting. And as the conflict escalated, the ultimatum finally came. One choice, two impossible losses, and a decision that would change everything forever. Even their daughter's special moments were overshadowed by suspicion and tension. Fans who loved Yara and Jovi's chemistry on screen had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. While viewers saw smiles and laughter, a storm was quietly building off camera. For Gwen, the accusation was not just an emotional reaction. It was a tool. By portraying Yara as dangerous, she believed she could push Jovi to rethink his marriage. For Yara, the accusation cut deeper than any insult. This wasn't just about her image. It was about survival. If Jovi believed his mother, her marriage and her family could fall apart. This was the moment trust began to crack. The bond between Jovi and Yara, once strong and secure, started to shake under the weight of lies. And as Gwen prepared to deliver her final ultimatum, Jovi realized the lines had been drawn. The tension reached its breaking point. Weeks of accusations had poisoned the atmosphere. Family gatherings felt like battlefields. Private conversations felt like interrogations. Yara, exhausted from constantly defending herself, leaned on Jovi for support. But Jovi himself was falling apart, torn between the two women he loved most. During one intense confrontation, Gwen finally said the words that changed everything. Her voice was cold and firm as she looked directly at her son. Jovi, she said, if you don't divorce your wife, Yara, then from today you are no longer my son. I will no longer recognize you as my child. The silence that followed was unbearable. Yara's face went pale. Her breath caught in her throat. Jovi felt as if the ground beneath him had collapsed. Hearing those words from his own mother hurt more than any accusation ever could. For Gwen, the ultimatum was final. She believed she was protecting her son, saving him from what she saw as a harmful marriage. But for Jovi, it felt like betrayal. His mother was asking him to abandon the woman he loved, the mother of his child, the partner who had stood beside him through everything. Yara's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to break. In a quiet but steady voice, she said, I have done nothing wrong. I love your son. I love our family. But I will not beg for acceptance while lies are being told about me. Jovi stood frozen. He had always respected his mother and valued her guidance. Now he was facing an impossible choice. Loyalty to the woman who raised him, or commitment to the woman he chose to build a life with. The weight of the ultimatum crushed him. Divorce Yara, and he would lose the love of his life. Stand by Yara, and he would lose his mother. There was no compromise, no middle ground. That night, Jovi sat alone, replaying his mother's words again and again. He thought about his daughter, about the future he wanted, about the love that had carried him across oceans to find Yara. Slowly and painfully, he reached a realization. The only way to escape the chaos was to walk away from everything. The accusations, the ultimatums, and the toxic cycle of family conflict. His mother's words echoed in his mind like a curse. If you don't divorce your wife, you are no longer my son. For days, Jovi struggled with the decision. He remembered his childhood, fishing trips, family laughter, and the bond he shared with his mother. She wasn't just his parent, she was his foundation. Losing her felt unbearable. But then he looked at Yara. He saw the woman who had crossed oceans for him, who had faced homesickness, cultural struggles, and public judgment. He saw the mother of his child, the partner who had stood by him through every storm. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but it was real. Jovi felt pulled between two worlds, the family he was born into and the family he had chosen. Every conversation with his mother ended in anger. Every attempt to comfort Yara ended in tears. One evening, Jovi sat alone in the living room. His daughter's toys were scattered across the floor, reminders of the life he and Yara had built. He thought about what it meant to be a husband, a father, and a son. Could he truly abandon Yara just to satisfy his mother? Could he destroy his marriage to keep the peace? The answer came slowly but clearly. Love isn't about choosing what's easy. It's about standing by the person who stands by you. His mother's ultimatum revealed a painful truth. This wasn't about peace, it was about control. And if he gave in, he wouldn't just lose Yara. He would lose himself. That night, Jovi made his decision. He would not divorce Yara. He would not betray the woman who had given him love, loyalty, and a family. But he also understood the cost. By choosing Yara, he might lose his mother forever. It was his breaking point. Some battles cannot be won, only survived. And survival meant walking away. After weeks of sleepless nights and endless arguments, Jovi finally reached clarity. There was no way to fix the damage. The accusations had poisoned the family beyond repair, and the ultimatum left no room for compromise. Yara, though heartbroken, stood strong. She refused to live under lies. She refused to raise her daughter in an environment where she was constantly attacked. "We can't keep living like this," she told Jovi one night. "If your mother will never accept me, then we need to build a life where we're free from this pain." Jovi listened. He thought about everything they had endured. The accusations, the broken trust, the choice he never wanted to make. And he realized the only way forward was to walk away, not just from the conflict, but from everything connected to it. The decision was life-changing. They would sell their home, leave behind their possessions, walk away from their life in America, the familiar streets of New Orleans, the cameras of 90 Day Fiancé, and the constant family drama. This wasn't just about escaping an ultimatum. It was about finding peace. Sitting together at the kitchen table, Jovi and Yara planned their future. They talked about their daughter and the kind of life they wanted for her. A calm life, a safe life, a life free from interference and pain. And finally, they agreed. They would leave the United States for good. The choice wasn't easy. Jovi knew he might be cutting ties with his mother forever. Yara knew she was walking away from fame and public recognition. But both understood that real love sometimes demands painful sacrifices. That night, as they tucked their daughter into bed, Jovi whispered, "We'll build something new. Just us. No more drama. No more lies." Yara nodded, tears in her eyes, knowing the road ahead would be hard, but worth it. The decision was final. They would walk away from the accusations, the ultimatum, and the life that had torn them apart. But before they could leave, they had one last step to take. They had to sell everything they owned. They began by putting their house on the market. The home that once symbolized hope, stability, and a fresh start now felt heavy with memories of arguments, tears, and difficult choices. Every room held reminders of both love and pain. The walls had heard laughter, but they had also witnessed heartbreak. Letting go was not easy, but it was necessary. The sale moved quickly. In the end, the house and their remaining property sold for $2.2 million. To outsiders, it looked like a major financial win. But for Jovi and Yara, the money carried no sense of victory. It was simply the price of freedom. The final chapter of their American life was closing. As they packed their belongings, emotions ran high. Each box represented a piece of their journey. Yara carefully folded her daughter's clothes, pausing often as memories washed over her. Jovi sorted through old items, stopping now and then to stare at something familiar, lost in thought. Neither of them spoke much. Words felt unnecessary. They both understood what this moment meant. Friends and acquaintances were shocked when they heard the news. Many didn't know the full story. Some assumed it was a career move. Others believed it was about money or fame. Very few knew the truth, that this move was born from pain, exhaustion, and a desperate need for peace. They didn't make a big announcement. There was no dramatic farewell on social media. No emotional interviews. Jovi and Yara chose silence. After years of living under cameras and public judgment, they wanted privacy more than anything. Their decision to leave 90 Day Fiancé was final. The show that had brought them fame had also brought pressure, criticism, and constant scrutiny. While the cameras had captured parts of their love story, they had never shown the full weight of what they endured behind closed doors. Walking away from the show felt like reclaiming control of their lives as their departure date approached. Jovi struggled privately with the reality of losing his mother. There were moments when he picked up his phone, tempted to call her, hoping she might soften, hoping for reconciliation. But each time, he remembered the ultimatum. He remembered the accusations, and he put the phone down. Yara never pushed him. She knew the pain he carried. Instead, she focused on their daughter, on creating a calm environment during the chaos of transition. She reminded herself daily that she was choosing safety, dignity, and peace, not just for herself, but for her child. The day they left the United States arrived quietly. No cameras followed them. No fans waited at the airport. Just 3 people, a few suitcases, and a future full of uncertainty. As the plane took off, Yara looked out the window, watching the city fade below. She felt sadness, relief, and fear all at once. Jovi sat beside her, holding their daughter close. As the plane climbed higher, he felt a heavy weight lift from his chest. The conflict, the accusations, the constant tension, they were finally behind him. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of calm. Canada offered them something they hadn't had in years, a fresh start. A place where no one knew their family drama. A place where they could focus on healing. They settled quietly. Choosing a life far from the spotlight, the adjustment wasn't easy. Starting over never is. Jovi had to rethink his work schedule. Yara had to adapt to a new environment once again. But this time it was different. There were no ultimatums hanging over their heads. No constant fear of judgment. No family battles waiting around every corner. Slowly, they found their rhythm. Mornings became peaceful. Evenings were filled with simple routines. Walks with their daughter. Quiet dinners. Conversations that weren't interrupted by anger or suspicion. For the first time in years, their home felt safe. There were still moments of pain. Jovi sometimes thought about his mother and wondered if things could have been different. Yara sometimes replayed the accusations in her mind, feeling the sting all over again. Healing wasn't instant, but it was happening. Fans eventually noticed their absence. Questions flooded online forums. Were they fired? Did they quit? Were they divorced? Rumors spread, but Jovi and Yara stayed silent. They owed no one an explanation. Their priority was their family. In private, they reflected on everything they had lost and everything they had gained. They lost a home, fame, and family ties, but they gained peace, unity, and the chance to raise their daughter without fear. Their love, once tested by distance, culture, and public scrutiny, had now survived something far more dangerous, betrayal and control. And through it all, they chose each other. Looking back, Jovi realized how close he had come to losing everything that truly mattered. The ultimatum forced him to see clearly. Love cannot survive where control rules. Family should protect, not destroy. Yara, too, emerged stronger. She had refused to bend under lies. She had protected her dignity and her child. She had chosen self-respect over acceptance that came with conditions. Their story didn't end with a dramatic reunion or a public apology. It ended quietly, with 2 people choosing peace over chaos. And maybe that's the most powerful ending of all. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to fight harder, it's to walk away.